Welcome back, everybody. This is Unconditional Surrender, published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Vasta. I'm Dren608. This is the Me, Myself, and I playthrough of the main event scenario. We are getting ready to go into the Soviet operations phase of February 1943. Very little activity by the Germans. Some fleet maneuvers by the British, and a successful bomb hit on Dusseldorf again. The Soviets have some possibilities. The real question is do I really want to try and do too much? I have 5 airplanes now on the board. So that's 15, well, if I don't use the third air, that would be 15 points if I use him at all. So, and I only start with 30. And I don't have... Oh, why did I pull that one up? I was trying to get the faction card. Hit the wrong button. I don't have anything in the mobilization or conditional. I do have some upgrades possible, although I don't know that I'll use them right away. And I do have several... I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 movement points that I could just move up to the line. And just basically set the line for march. That only leaves me like 3 more points to spend to do any kind of an attack, and most of my attacks will cost me at least 4 or 5. So maybe I don't move all these units up. I don't know. Part of me says I should be moving up to attack my enemy, and the other part of me says I should spend the points to try and take out these Germans while I still have a slight advantage. So I might do a little bit of both. I'm going to put this guy in harm's way. He's going to fly up to Moscow and take a sortie. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think there's a way. Can I get this tank army in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the river, 7, 8 for the city, 9, 10 for the infantry, so I can't. So I'm going to move the 6th infantry heck out of the way. He's going to go 3 into the swamp over the river, and then 3 into the woods in 2052 over the river. So that's 6 movement points, and he's just done. So that was a production point. Then I'm going to move the armored unit that's in Kalinin. If I counted right, he moves 2 into the swamp next to him. And then it's 3 for the river, 4, 5 for 2051. And then he declares an assault on Rezev, 2050. That is 1 for the river, 2 for the unit in poor weather, and 2 for the city, which is another 5. So he's done with his move. And that's another 2. And I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 for the guards unit and 1 for the shock unit that are all adjacent to Rezev. We're going to call this assault. Okay. So we've got an interesting assault going there. I'm going to just start off and see where I stand. The Russians will have the guards unit be the primary. So he's +1 for being elite. Then I'm adding a shock, which is +2. And I'm adding an armor, which is +2. Poor weather, they're +2s. If I get an aircraft in, I could be plus another 1. And I could throw a tanks marker for another +1. Right? So I could end up at like +5 or +7. But then it'd be -1 for the weather and -1 for the city. So I could be at a total of +5. Let's see what the Germans start off at. So the Germans basically just start off at +2. And now they could throw in a tanks marker to become +3, and one of their airplanes to become +4. So it could be a +5 to a +4. So we go to combat commitment. Think really hard about it, and the Germans are like, there's only like 2 quote-unquote Schwerpunkts where they're Russians are probably going to push really hard. This is one of them. The other place could be in 3256. I'd have an airplane there, but I wouldn't have an armor if I use it up here. So Germans are thinking long and hard about it. The Russians go, we're committing, and they throw in their airplane from Moscow. So, okay, they've got an airplane in. The Germans have to think they're going to go ahead and throw the airplane where? What airplane do I throw in? 3, 4, 5. Well, let's throw in the one from Veluki. Okay, so there's 2 airplanes in there. Now the Russians get their turn again to commit, and they will say, tanks marker. Ta-da. Now the Germans have to think. Do they want to go up on a +5 to +3? Or do they want to make a +5 to +4 there and then possibly risk this space down here? They can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They can get back. They can get a tanks army and a guards, but they can't get a shock unit because he's too far away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they'll throw in a tank, so they'll be +2, +1, +2. So they'll be at +5, -2 because of the river in this space. So they'll be at a +3, and they can throw in an airplane +4 to +3. I think I'll throw the tanks in up here. Just doing quick math there in my head. Sorry, folks. Speaking out loud so you knew why I was just sitting there staring at the map. It's like, no, I was actually doing some calculations there. So I'm going to throw my tanks in there too. So we know that the tank markers each add 1 for us. We have an air combat. The Germans are at -1 net because they're +2 for German, -2 for weather, -3. They're -3. I'll recalculate the ground combat here in a minute. So the defense is -3. And the Russians are also at -3 because they're -1 for sortie, -2 for weather. So it's a -3 to a -3. The Russians are all a 3, so they're a 0. And so are the Germans. So each took a sortie. Use the guy in Veluki. But the airplanes got through. So from the German standpoint, they started off +2 because they're German. They get +1 for a tank and +1 for their aircraft. The Russians started off at +1 because they're elite. And then they threw a tanks marker in, which makes them an extra +1 for the armor. They're adding an armor, which adds 2 in poor weather. They're adding a shock, which adds 2 in poor weather. They had an airplane, so they add that too. And then they have to take off 1 for the weather and 1 for the city. So it's a +5 to a +4. The Russians roll. A 1 + 5 is a 6. The Germans cannot be dislodged. The worst they can get is a 5. The Germans roll. Also a 1. So the net result is a 6 to a 5, which is a diamond and nothing happens. Tank markers go back on the turn track. Oh, all that thinking and hemming and hawing, and yeah, nothing happened. Okay. Yowza. That was 6 points the Russians spent. Double check. Why do I have them down 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I move something else? Oh, why am I down another 2? What did I spend the extra points on, people? I don't think I'm supposed to be there. Because it's 1 for an infantry, 1 for a shock, 2 for guards, 2 for an armor. I don't think I moved anything else yet, right? No, I certainly didn't. I don't know what I was doing here. I don't have any other units that I moved, so I can't do math. See, you want to play me as the Russians, too. I spend more production points than I'm supposed to. Alright, that would be 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. would leave me with 15, which would be all my airplanes. Okay. Well, first off, we need to get this shock army moving because I totally forgot about him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7, 8. He can get to 34, 57. Or I could go up to 33, 59. Let's go to 33, 59. So that's a point. Five more would put me down to 18. I really want to save 17. So I really can only move like 5 more points. So what I'm thinking is just closing up on the Don here. Move like the 18th to here. That's 1. Third guard to... Actually, let's think about this. Yeah, I could put a tank army in here. That'd be 2, 3, 4, and 5. Gives me a bunch of infantry behind the lines, but that's okay. I'm trying to set up a good assault on the 8th, maybe next turn. So, without me having to move units around. So I'm thinking I'm going to move this tank army, first tanks, into 3257. 3257. That's 2 points. Going to move the guards unit up here. That's 2 points. And then I'm going to move this infantry here. That's a point. And then, just to be consistent, I'm going to close off the Kurt Strait. So I don't have to think about it anymore. That's 7. Leaves me 17. If I counted right, I have an armored unit. Oh, I can't flip him. Never mind. Maybe I'm not going to move those units the way I did. So if I had 18 left. Nah, I'll stay at 17. I can move 2 more units. Or 2 points worth of units up. So... what do I want to do? I was thinking I could flip the guy, but he's under strategic movement marker. Don't really have anything to move in the north. So just a couple of points down here, maybe. A couple of infantry moves. Be across the river. Yeah, I think we'll move this guy. And move this guy here. And this guy here. So those would be my other 2 moves. And that leaves me with 15. Okay. And that's the Russian operations. They're not going to do any more attacks or anything. They're kind of waiting for... probably... they have 2 more turns of poor and/or severe. So that's when they're going to try to take out this 3rd Panzer. They're just kind of stuck at the moment. They need to get their airplanes back down again. This is a constant battle with the German Air Force. That until you outnumber them physically in numbers in a specific part of the front, you can't really get anywhere. So that takes care of that. I didn't start my timer here, but I'm almost done, so hopefully it's not going to take that much more time. That was operations phase for the Soviets. Nobody has a no supply marker on them. Replacements for the Axis. We know that they're going to do this. Now I have a choice here. I could like not do my airplanes this turn. You know, maybe only do like 2 airplanes because I have 30 production points. And I know it's going to be bad weather next turn. So I think I'm going to do something silly. I'm going to spend 20, and I'm going to get my surprise attack marker back. And it's going to show up in 4 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll show up in June. And the reason why I do that is on a Russian breakthrough, if they start breaking through and they make a big hole, this happened in my last game. The fact that I had that surprise attack marker allowed me to do a local counterattack, redress the line, and I actually killed a German or a Russian. I think I killed 2 Russian armor in that turn because they were exposed. I was able to surround them, and they didn't have retreat routes and stuff like that. And the extra +1 helped immensely in kind of clearing that up and solidifying my defensive line. So I have the ability to do it. I'm going to do that. That basically means I have 3 airplanes I can clear. So this one for sure. That's 3. Where's the German 1 marker? There it is. 2, 3. That puts me down to 7. I have to say I got 1 to build, so I can do 2 more airplanes and still build my infantry. Won't be able to flip over the Africa army, but I don't think I need to right at the moment. So I got 2 more airplanes I can do. I think I'm going to do 2 here. I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to do this one. That's going to be 6. That leaves me, whoops, wrong guy. Leaves me 1 for that. And the Swedes didn't really have any moves, right? So we're done. We're done as we can be done. Because I did do the move on the Finns, right? Tell me I moved the Finns. Yeah, I did. I moved them into Viborg. Okay. So, that is German replacements. Western replacements. We get to go do the fun stuff first. This sortie marker goes away. This sortie marker goes away. This sortie marker comes down too. This sortie marker comes down too. Isn't it fun doing the Americans? You don't have to go to tracks to do your stuff. This sortie marker comes down too. And then that's the Americans. Yeah, the British, they actually have to do stuff. They have to pay for theirs. They're going to pay 4 for this. Get that down. And I think I'm going to pay 4 for this. But let's do the airplanes first. Airplanes and things. Where's the national track? So that was 4 for the bombers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go down to the Middle East and do these 2 convoys that I always do. So I can keep my guys in supply. 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2. That keeps the 4 ground units in supply. 2 ground, 2 air. Over here in the Middle East and North Africa, Tripoli and Gabes and all of that. So that was 6 more, right? And then I'm going to do these 2 airplanes, so that's going to be a grand total of 12. So I'll end up with 10 left. I do have to get start working on Force H if I want to try and do any kind of stuff in the future. That means I really only have either a fleet or an airplane or even a convoy. I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and clear up the home fleet up here just so that it can act if I need it to for some reason. And that would be 4, and that leaves me 1 with the British. And that's it for the British. They don't have anything to build. Nope, nobody has anything in mobilization. Russian replacements. We had calculated. I have 15 and I have 5 airplanes, so boom, that's all they're going to do. Because I couldn't flip the armored unit that I moved with. Oh, yeah, this one goes down 2. This one goes down 2, and Saratov goes down 2. So that's the Russian replacements. Upgrade phase, Axis doesn't, West doesn't, but the Soviets can. You got to think a little bit about here on the Soviets. We could get, I mean, I've got an extra infantry unit here, the 30th and the 13th. And I also have one here in Razan. So I have 3 infantry units behind the line that I really don't need at the moment or at any time in the near future, which means I could bring out those 3 upgrade units. The question is where would you put them? I think one would go here for the 23rd. Maybe one up here, like the 14th. Or maybe the 7th. And the 3rd one. Maybe the 51st. Yeah, I'm going to be silly. 51st and the 23rd. Delete them. And I place in place, where's my faction card? Of course it goes up at the spot where I want to be. I'm going to put the 7th guards here and the 6th guards here. And then I have to take off 2 more infantry for that. So I'm going to take off the 13th and the 30th. Which reminds me, yes, I did take them out. Then I have the 4th guards. And the reason why I'm putting down there is because there's lots of clear terrain here. If I make any kind of hole, I have a couple of armored units, I have like 3 guards units, and I have a shock army coming along to help in assaults. So hopefully all of that power can translate into some sort of a breakthrough through the German line, trying to force the Don from the south, maybe even forcing the Donets and recapturing Rostov in 1943. And then the other place that I'm going to need it is going to be here in the center, I think. So since this thing looks like it's kind of threatened, I'm going to put the last one is going to go here. We're going to take out the 45th. 4th is going to go there, and then we will also remove the 5th. So, got some mobile armies here in the south where it's, relatively clear area. I get some more. It may take me a little while to do it, but the next set will probably go up here along the rivers up here and stuff to help me get across them with extra +1s for being elite and stuff. First thing I got to do is figure out a way to take Reserve back, I think, or maybe if I can figure out a way to assault the sides of it. Maybe I just try and outflank it by busting through the center, attacking the 15th and the 16th, and just try and push a whole wedge this way, and that would force them to collapse the line. I don't know. Strategy discussions, who knows? Okay, that's the upgrade phase. Mobilization. The Axis does have mobilization. They're going to go back over here. They're going to spend their last point. They spend their last point. And I didn't do the reorganization of the Italians. I'm sorry. I just keep forgetting that I have Italians still. I'm going to do the reorganization of the Italians real quick. 3. 6. and 9. They can't really rebuild their fleets at this point, which is unfortunate but necessary. And the only reason why I did this convoy here is because I can. I couldn't do a fleet, so I figured I'd just clear up a convoy just so I spent the points. So Italians spent all their points too in replacements phase. The Axis mobilized. They built their 1 infantry that died in Russia. They put it in Munich because it's going to move into Italy. No one else has any mobilization, so we can just skip. And we go, nobody's talking because we're at war. Everybody's at war. They haven't conquered Germany yet, so the game isn't over. And we go to the end of turn phase. And we get some stuff back. The Germans get their surface action marker and their tanks marker. The Russians get their tanks marker. Oh, the British get their free forces back, so they have another +1 on combat. And the Americans get the 8th Air Force. The bombers are coming. The bombers are coming. That's why that convoy was sitting up there in East North America, is to get those bombers over into England as soon as they can. And next turn, the Russians will get their heavy artillery back. So in April, maybe they'll be able to retake the cities that they want to retake. We'll have to wait and see for that, won't we? So, yeah, that's it. That was a very light February turn, considering it was poor weather, but the Russians really needed to, even though they have 30 points, they really can't spend it assaulting everywhere that they'd like to, because they had to get their stuff on the board. So we'll see what happens next turn. Yeah, we're at end of turn phase, aren't we? Okay. So we've done that. This has been February, Soviet part of the February 1943 turn and the end of turn stages. This is the Me, Myself, and I playthrough of the main event scenario of the game Unconditional Surrender. I'm Dren608. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the videos so you don't miss any future episodes. And please leave me comments. I do respond to comments as best I can when I see them. We will see you next time. We will start with March 1943 in the next video. Bye-bye.